This week in the Regency, we're kind of time traveling. On my recent trip, I went to see my friend Bronwyn. Bronwyn Clark is a Regency writer under the name Bronwyn Parry, and she's also a historical dressmaker, and she's made some extraordinary things by hand, like all using the traditional methods and so on. I was hanging out with her for a lot of reasons, but partly because she's going to make me a Regency frock. And she showed me while I was there some actual pages from Ackermann's repository. So this is most of the things that I show you in terms of fashion come from digitized versions of La Belle Assemblée or Ackermann's Repository of the Arts. And these were two magazines which were very, very popular amongst the gentry and nobility and upper middle classes of the Regency period. But they're digitized, most of them are in university libraries and so on. But these are actual pages taken out of the magazines. And Bronwyn found them in like a market in Britain when she was there. And the most exciting thing from her point of view and also from ours is that these pages were saved separately to the magazine because they have fabric samples on them. So this is not a picture of a fabric. It's not an image or an artist's rendering. It's the actual bit of material has been cut up and inserted onto the page. And so I got to touch fabrics that came 200 years plus. So that's where the time travel comes in. We're going to hear Bronwyn talk about it because she's really an expert in this area. And we're going to see some of the pieces. And I'm also going to give you some of the descriptions that went along with those pieces of fabric in the magazine. So everybody, this is very exciting. I am about to see real bits of Ackermann's repository. Because my friend Bronwyn, she of the wonderful clothes and wonderful books.
And they're currently round the house walking the dog outfit in a colder climate. Okay, this is it.
So these are actual fabric samples.
These are actual fabric samples. So every month in the early 1800s, Ackermann published the magazine, but certainly some numbers of it, I don't know if every single edition, had these fabric samples.
The thing that really surprised me most was how vivid the colours were. They were as though they'd been made yesterday. Oh, look how vivid they are.
Yeah, oh yes. People think that natural dyes were dull, but they weren't. There was some really, really brilliant coloured dyes because silk and wool, being protein fibres, they take dyes really well.
I just thought they would have faded over time.
Well, they haven't been exposed to light. They've been, in piles of papers or whatever. So they just haven't faded because
it's light that fades them.
It's light that fades them, basically. Right. Yes. So
look at the patterns on it.
Yes. Now, of course, this is really prior to the beginning of industrialisation. Cotton gets mechanised. The production of cotton gets mechanised in the 1780s, really. But some of these other fibres and yarns, it doesn't get mechanised until further into the 1800s. So some of these are possibly hand woven. So there's a range of different fabrics, and we can look at the descriptions to see what they are.
Like allegorical woodcut with patterns of British manufacture. Now, a pattern in these circumstances, and this was the way the word was used at least up until the 1930s, because it's used that way in a book by Dorothy L. Sayers. But a pattern there means a sample of the fabric showing the pattern. And the woodcut shows how it was made. So we have some clues about manufacture at this time. Number 1, a beautiful blue velveteen adapted principally for the pelisse and spencer, when the ball, fringe, or gimp, or fancy trimming to correspond, that is in the same colour, is both a requisite and tasteful addition. Its superior texture and excessive neatness, I love that, excessive neatness, render it the most elegant article we have ever seen. Its beautiful simplicity cannot fail to attract great notice amongst the fairer sex. What I love about that is that the implication is it's other women who are noticing what you're wearing. But also it means when it says attract great notice amongst the fairer sex, it means people are going to want to buy it. It is sold by G. Sutton, 53 Leicester Square, whose judicious and extensive assortment in this line renders his house deservedly much celebrated. So presumably, you know, Mrs. Bell or Miss Pierpont would be buying from G. Sutton. Number 2, a bright yellow figured silk. So this is an unusual one. Most of the others are wool. This is a very tasteful article and mostly made into short pelisses, spencers, or evening dresses. So it's slightly heavier than the silk voile or satin that you would make the whole dress. Generally, when the two former are composed of this material, that is pelisses and spencers, they may be ornamented in the same manner as the blue velveteen mentioned above. So when we look at the yellow figured silk, we see that being figured means it has something embroidered over the top of it. So there's a background of net, and then there's weaving over the top of that. Let's have a look at some other images. Now this is wool rather than silk, but you can see it's taken the yellow dye really well. This is also wool. This is a tighter weave, and so it would be used for more outdoors things or possibly waistcoats. And here we have quite fine weaving. The suggestions here is for masculine clothing. A beautiful red. It's hard to get it was even brighter than you think looking at this. Really lovely. And I mean, all I could think of was Little Red Riding Hood. This is what you'd make Little Red Riding Hood's hood out of.
They certainly had vibrant colours even before aniline dyes, at least for wool and silk. Cotton and linen don't dye as well, and indigo you can dye them, so that's why when we've got surviving dyed cottons and linens, it's usually blue. And there's a form of turkey red that does hold on cotton and linen.
Is turkey red from cochineal?
I think it is, but there's a process to get it, which is the dyers were actually chemists, and they understood a lot about how to alter the colours of things. And there were areas, I think somewhere in the south of England, sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head, where the water had a lot of iron in it, and so they dyed very vibrant reds. And so knowing about your landscape also helped understand how the water in your area would affect the dyes, the natural dyes.
Here are some of the other fabrics. We don't have time to go through every single one of them, but if you go over to Bronwyn's YouTube channel, Stitching History, I'll put the link in the comments. You may find some more information about some of these things.
Some of them have got the descriptions of the fabric in them, because the descriptions, of course, weren't on the same page.
Number 1, a Spanish embroidered net, a light and elegant article for evening or full dress. It is extended over a white satin slip, short sleeves and plain bosom. The several terminations, that is the edges, the hems and edges of the sleeves, finished with hollow bindings of velvet, the colour of the sprig. So when we look at the sprig, we can see that the sprig is like brownish. So they're suggesting that the velvet should also be that colour. Diamonds, pearls, the satin bead or mother of pearl ornaments are the only jewellery which can be consistently worn with robes of this material. And that is because those things are not coloured. So it's a difficult combination of colours. Number 2, Indian shawl print of much unique elegance and likely to become, from its seasonal utility, because it's warm, an article of high repute during the winter for the domestic or walking gown. Trimmings of spotted ermine, it's quite expensive, spotted ermine, or black velvet, so that's what everybody else will use, will have a very good effect on robes of this material with college caps of the same. Mrs. Smith's has this one. Number 3, a Brazilian striped muslinette for morning wraps, jackets, frocks, and high gowns. Robes of this article should either be constructed in a plain or simple style or trimmed with lace, as needlework would lose its effect, however tastefully introduced, because the fabric itself is quite complicated. Number 4, a Spanish striped toilinette for gentlemen's waistcoats of appropriate and seasonable shades. This article speaks for itself in point of utility and comfort and renders unnecessary all further remark. That is, I couldn't figure out what to say about it.
We don't have fabrics like these nowadays. The delicacy, the types of fabrics, the complexity of them, we just don't do anymore.
Is that because machines can't do it?
Possibly, but also we just go for simplicity and cheapness, really, even in our higher end fabrics. And higher end fabrics are so hard to get.
Again, the kind of fabric we just don't get because it's so hard to create with a machine. So pretty. I can imagine that in a really nice Spencer. And for the men, the waistcoat. They usually had at least one. Looking at this, the kind of the number of things that Bronwyn had, they usually had at least one waistcoat or gentleman's attire fabric there, which is interesting because it implies that Ackermann's was not only for women. This is the other part I like. The repository of arts, literature, commerce, manufactures, fashion, and politics, that is Ackermann's, manufacturers, factors, and that would be like middlemen, wholesalers, and dealers in fancy goods that come within the scope of this plan, that is the way that these fabrics are being shown in the magazine, are requested to send patterns, that is samples, of such new articles as they come out. So we want to be at the forefront of fashion. Don't you go sending us some things that are old. And if the requisites of novelty first, fashion and elegance are united, the quantity necessary for this magazine will be ordered. Well, I'm pretty sure that Mrs. Smith would have either given them a wholesale price or given them the fabric completely in exchange for that. This is where you will find this fabric. So the whole kind of product placement stuff is really strong in this period. And we think of it as something that's kind of late 20th century, but in fact, it goes back a really long way. I have to say, it was so lovely seeing Bronwyn and going through all this with her. And she also, at this point, received a dress that she had bought from the early Victorian period. And she's going to do an unboxing of that on her channel. So keep an eye out for that on Stitching History. It was really exciting seeing these fabrics for real and being able to interact with them in 3D. So that's this special video for this week in the Regency. I'm Elizabeth Layden. I'll see you next week in the Regency.